In 2018, Marvel came out with a thunderstorm of a movie called Black Panther. It was starring Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan, and so many other key and well-known black actors because it was a predominantly black cast movie. Took the world by storm and it earned $1 billion over a $200 million budget. And I think one of the other beauties about this movie was how it showed African culture, how it showed the African language, how it embraced so many colonial themes and colonial like battles that and questions that we have been asking ourselves here in Africa and also for the Black Americans and the Black diaspora. So we are very incredibly excited to review this movie. Yes, join us as we continue. Hey TFC listeners, welcome to the episode where we review Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. My name is Dorina.
My name is Ashley.
My name is Steve. Did you just do this?
Yeah, I just did this.
Yeah, this movie is so iconic. It was actually the first movie my sister and I went to see in the cinemas in IMAX the first time. Though.
Did you guys record
Very
reels
surprising.
doing this in cinema?
Yes, we did. Like,
you?
wangesema Wakanda Forever, the entire cinema would have been like, It was
I'm
that
sure I can
iconic.
find that on my gallery mahali after
that
nimewatch
what
your
you're
movie.
The photos.
Hapo nje, hapo Garden City.
Is that what they call indoctrination?
It doesn't matter. This movie was hype to the max.
Yeah.
To the max. And it was definitely worth it. So I won't go too much in depth on the plot because I believe $1 billion. So there's a very high chance you have seen or you have watched this movie. But for those who haven't, the basic plot is after the death of T'Challa is the one to take over the throne. So they usually do a battle combat first. So he does it with the Jabari tribe and he's able to win. He's given the Black Panther and he becomes the ruler. In the meantime, during the time of his dad, Ulysses Claw had stolen some Vibranium. And as it was kind of like an unsolved mystery or an unsolved crime within the land. And some hijinks happen in, was it London or Korea? Busan. Where is that?
I think Korea.
Just in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Some hijinks happen in Korea as they try to apprehend this culprit so that they can kill him or they can bring him back to Wakanda for like the legal process or whatever. But then Killmonger is the one who's able to kill him and he takes him to Wakanda. And we have this very amazing scene of Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan battling it out within their characters of T'Challa and Killmonger as they kind of have a battle of intellect as to who is right in the way they use the resources of Wakanda, which we'll go into in depth as we continue discussing. So he challenges Killmonger challenges T'Challa for the seat to the throne, and T'Challa loses, unfortunately. And Killmonger is now the new Black Panther. And as he becomes the new Black Panther, he burns through all the flowers that they were kind of gifted by the gods for Vibranium. The story continues. And, in the end, the winners win. It's a bit, I'm just shortening it for now. But yes, I'm pretty sure you have all watched this movie.
Yeah.
And so...
Laiti wangalijua kuna podcast host moja hakuwa amewatch.
How? We watched it last
But we are not
week.
naming names.
Well, mi nishajitoa because nishasema.
Na mimi nilishafanya hivi. We all know who it is.
We all know who it is.
Okay.
But he apparently didn't want to watch it because it was overhyped. So now on the second movie, Wakanda Forever, it begins with T'Challa having like an illness. And now because Killmonger had burnt all the plants that had the Vibranium, the sister was trying to recreate that herb again, like kind of 3D print it so that they can use it to help T'Challa come back to health. Unfortunately, he dies before she's able to do this, she's able to recreate this plant. And in real life, this was a causation because Chadwick Boseman, the lead actor of Black Panther, had as well passed away. So the movie does this very beautiful funeral sequence. They wear white, they sing, they have a lot of art like murals within the town that really commemorate his memory and the good things that he had done for them. And I think we can discuss on how our funeral ceremonies in Africa are not as elaborate, but they kind of give homage in a similar way. In the meantime, now because the world already knows that Wakanda exists and they have vibranium, they're trying to source it in other places. Because now since T'Challa has died, the Queen Mother has said, hiyo story yenye alikuwa amewaambia si hatufanyi anymore because of this grief. So now the world goes trying to source for vibranium in other places, and they're able to find, they kind of happenstance upon the Talokan. The Talokan end up blaming the Wakandas for this kind of invasion of privacy. And so they tell the Wakandans, you guys go tell these CIA people, if they do not stop or if they do not give us the scientists who made the vibranium like searching tool, we're going to come and destroy your land. And the Wakandans do their best. They go find them, but the Talokan kidnap the scientists and as well the queen, the princess Shuri.
Princess
Yes,
Shuri.
and Princess Shuri. And so the movie continues as this battle between these two very powerful vibranium tribes try to work it out between who's like the strongest and who is the strongest, and also should we, because we have all this power, therefore use our power against our colonizers and attack them and get back what some of our other populace have lost. Those are like the key themes of the story. So anything that you guys think I've left out?
Let's start with the super fan.
Oh. Okay, I feel like it's been very high level. I think maybe we'll get into more details as we do the questions. But I think generally, most people did watch Black Panther. Maybe Wakanda Forever not as much, but it's basically just Wakanda's fighting the Talokan, who are guys of like the sea. And they have...
I missed to say that from the sea.
Yeah, they're from the sea. They have vibranium under the sea. And now their issue is, of course, given our world is majority sea, vibranium had to have landed, because CG vibranium came from a meteor, right? So it had to have landed somewhere in the sea. And then, of course, America is searching for this in the sea. They find it. And then now the Talokan are like, hey, these guys are going to come and start invading our lands. And the Talokan actually even got to the sea because they were running away from other people who are also coming after them. So now, they get... Wait, actually, were they running from people? They were
they were running
there was
from
a disease.
colonizers.
There was a smallpox that had been brought by...
the Spanish guys. Yeah.
So while looking for a cure, apparently the seer, the shaman, akapata vision, alafu akaenda huko kwa sea, akapata a certain plant, and then tengeneza, watu wakakunywa, and then they all passed. But then when they were revived, they came back
as blue.
And then they couldn't survive with oxygen. They couldn't take in oxygen from the air as normal human beings. So their bodies had changed. Their body chemistry, everything had changed, their biology. Wakaingia kwa maji, wakaanza kuishi kwa maji. But then this lady who was expectant brought forth a child who could exist in both worlds. It's giving Aquaman. But
yes, it is. It is very much so.
Okay, before then I was gonna say you're the super fan, it seems, but
yeah, because you remembered all those details.
You dissed it giving Aquaman, okay. Yeah, but it was actually giving Aquaman with wings on his feet.
With wings on his feet.
Yeah,
exactly. Not as cool though, but hey.
With an underwear only.
It was a huge standard to reach, Jason Momoa. I mean, that was a huge standard to reach. Anyway, so now those Talokan guys in the sea, they're now blaming Wakanda for making the world know that there's vibranium, and now they want like them to take over with Wakanda and take over the world, because now they're the powerful ones, and now they don't want to be colonized. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So in a way, actually, both movies are about colonization.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And so now let us begin where kind of Killmonger's strife is. It's partly colonization and partly now the oppression of the black diaspora and the black community in general.
Mm.
So from your perspective, was he a hero or was he a villain?
Ooh.
I think
I might want to start. I want to start.
Okay,
So
okay.
Sour.
here's the thing. Villain.
Mm-hmm.
But a very good villain. Here's how I know you've written a good villain.
Mm-hmm.
When I can empathize with their plight
Mm.
and almost be caught in between. By the way, akona point ama, cause all through the film, first of all, his father is killed by the king of Wakanda, the then king of Wakanda, Chaka, and
His brother was.
This
his
is the
father was
brother.
the brother to that.
yeah,
king.
and then they leave this child there. There's not even a sense of ama tuchukue tu mtoto cause tunamwacha hivo.
No, but he had the mom.
Hey.
Did they?
Yeah, but then
But I
okay,
miss
the
it,
reason
Julie,
why
miss
they
it.
didn't bring
Yeah.
him was he was like a scar on. It was like a bad thing that had
Yeah.
Oh
happened.
yeah,
was a
they
shame.
weren't to like have kids outside of the culture as well.
I don't know, but
It seemed
they
so.
felt like he was kind of like an abomination or something. Yeah.
So from your already origin, and then he grows up with this hatred, this venom. He sees the sufferings of the people from his community, and he just wants to find a way to uplift them,
He also
empower na
knows,
kuwapatia strength so that they can actually not live in such conditions.
Yeah.
But his was an extreme. He wasn't trying to elevate them to the place where they can now be equal na the quote unquote white man. But he wanted to actually subdue.
Yes.
He wanted to subdue with their power. He wanted to be to wage war in a sense of the world. He had a lot of anger, and vengeance was his major motivation. And so his vengeance, it seemed as though when we were looking at his history and background, it makes sense why he was the person that he was. And so, hey, when you see him do all these things, he has a love interest. Hey, hata huyo love interest akiingia place when there's a moral dilemma at his save the life of the love interest or he's like, I don't care.
I'm sorry, man.
My will to enact my vengeance is stronger than my love for you.
I didn't even think that there was love there.
I don't think there was love as well. Anyways, and so he's trained all his life. And he was kind of talking about it even in his confrontation.
Yeah,
I've waited all my life for this moment.
For that moment.
Yeah, and you could see from if it was a battle of wills, that is where he actually won it. Because alikuwa hapo anasema, mi najua kile imenileta hapa. For Chala, he wasn't so sure. Chala was a bit anajua hapa kuna wrong ilifanyika.
Empathetic, yeah.
But he was a bit empathetic in a sense. And there was a nobility that ilimkata miguu. So you can see how he was a villain, what led him to be a villain, and by that point empathize with his motives. Yeah. So he was a very good villain.
He was a very good villain. Okay.
I would say Killmonger had the baddest, the illest soundtrack. Hey, the soundtrack that came when he like comes into scene. Hey,
Yeah.
the hip hop nini.
Yeah.
Hey,
Huyu
the
nani
baddest.
kwani alikuwa anataka kufanya the nini?
Actually, Ludwig won the Oscar for
Soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yep.
For that, yeah.
Checks out. Yeah, the
was really
baddest, the baddest sound. But anyways, I think he was a hero, but how he wanted to do whatever, but how he wanted to achieve his goal was wrong. So he was a villain. But he was a
What are
hero.
you saying? What are you saying?
Okay, Sawa. I think that the motivations, absolutely. He wanted to
Valid,
he wanted, like, why is Wakanda isolating itself instead of helping other black people who are being subjugated around the world? So I do get that. But then at the same time, how he wanted to go about it is arm all this militia, arm all these people so that they take over their masters, which now the way to go about it was wrong. so he was it's a villain with a very good motivation, like very good.
Yeah, he did have a very good and very justifiable motivation, but now the anger and the pursuit of vengeance is what now tipped
Consumed
him
him.
off the
Exactly.
scale, because it's because of that hate and of that vengeance that made him even burn all those flowers for vibranium, and cause the source of power that he's craving to kind of start being depleted.
But the reason why Nani tries to explain what was the name of the
Zuri.
CIA guy, the CIA guy,
Martin, I think. That's his real name.
Can't remember.
Watson. Watson in Sherlock Holmes. So he says that this guy was like trained black ops, like they've sent on secret missions they destabilize governments and stuff. And they said that the first thing that they when they're trying to topple a government, the first thing they do is block the transfer of power. So the hubs were a means to transfer like leadership from one person to the other. So that's why he burnt them in the first place, to ensure that there wouldn't be a smooth transition in power.
It aligns. It checks out with his training.
Because
Checks out with
actually
his training,
he burnt it when the lady said, so these hubs are to help and that's when he burns it, because he's like, no, there's not gonna be another leader. Yeah,
but he wasn't a leader for Wakanda. Here's the problem.
Yeah.
Because it was a
He
zero-sum
didn't like
game.
Wakanda.
He didn't like Wakanda at all. He had no love for Wakanda. If anything, he hated that he was affiliated, in a sense.
Yeah, because they killed his father.
Yeah.
So I think that, in a sense, now made him not suitable to be in such a position of authority. He would have made sense as a good anti-hero. Like, I would have loved him as an anti-hero.
In some ways, I think...
If he survived, I think he would have made a really good anti-hero. Who maybe outside of, those villains who they start as villains and then they become... They're like... They're in between. Like, gray area. Okay? The beiging in the red and green. So... yeah, there's those are the anti-heroes now. Like Punisher and the likes. So he would have made for a good anti-hero.
If he was
like
able
to go
to
back
not
now, become maybe
the extreme.
an anti-hero in the community, maybe kujaribu deal na situation kwa where he was brought up. I don't know. It would have made sense.
So now that messaging that Killmonger has, that Wakanda has enough resources, they could have actually gone and helped other people, other black communities. Not necessarily. No, yes, because the message of the movie is black communities.
Yeah.
So that is also the same message that Lupita has, and that's why, or rather, what's the name of Nakia? That Nakia has in the movie, because she says she doesn't want to stay in Wakanda because Wakanda already has enough. There's so much poverty, there's so much struggle out there. We have enough to support ourselves and to support the others. Do you guys agree? Because even in the end, that's
exactly what happens.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
I agree. Do you?
Yeah, I agree. But also there was a reason why Wakanda didn't want to help other people. They wanted to... It's not that they didn't want to necessarily share. They just were fearful that if they shared this with the rest of the world would come and now attack them in order to get what they wanted.
Which happens now in Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. Because in Wakanda Forever,
exactly
they come and try to explore the sea in order to get vibranium so that they can
go and attack.
Even actually when the movie starts,
they were attacking a base.
They were attacking one of their hubs,
cultural centers.
Yeah, exactly, in order to get the vibranium, and then turns out it was all a plot, and Akina Okoye come out on top.
Yeah. So I think the world is as predictable and as unfortunate. That they would have attacked them anyway. So I think that covers most of the themes for Wakanda Forever. Now, for Black Panther, as we transition, this is kind of like a hot desk question that we had battled with before we started. What are your thoughts on colonialism? Because as we can see in the movie, it ties to purport that if there was an African state or an African village or an African space that was left on its own untouched, it would have thrived within its own culture. Do you think that's a valid... Can that thought be copy and pasted into our context world today? Yeah.
Are we doing a what if here? Now, what if the colonizers didn't come and we didn't have to fight for independence?
Yeah, more or less.
Would we have been better off now than we are? is like the best way to translate the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder. Here's the thing: we might never be able to answer that, like accurately,
Objectively, yeah.
Objectively, that's the thing. Here's what I know: innovation is bred from necessity, right? And ultimately, maybe there was the developed world. They had to go through when you look at their history, because ultimately we're all human beings, all with the same capacity to learn, with the same, if not
desire for knowledge,
exactly same
search
desire for knowledge, thirst for
And
knowledge.
self-improvement.
Those people exist even in Africa and have existed
Yeah.
even from way back. People who had the pursuit for knowledge and science and scientific,
because like the Egyptians, like Egypt was primarily a desert, and they were able to harness River Nile all that well, and they became as big as they were
yeah.
to build the pyramids.
Pyramids.
Apparently, the technology to build the pyramids doesn't exist anymore. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, it's still there's an urban legend there. behind
Yeah.
it.
Is it a wonder of the world? The pyramids.
It is there,
is,
yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Pyramids of Giza.
Mm.
Yeah.
Giza. See, Gaza.
If you know, you know.
Okay.
So, anyways, yeah. So when you think about it from that perspective, and you think that if maybe we would have been left to our own devices, there would have been a chance. Perhaps would have been given a chance for us to develop at our own pace and get to understand what potential we have, because some of these things were made known to us courtesy of people coming and realizing huku kuna a lot of fertile land. There's possibly, because they are in this region, there must be this particular mineral, and now they came and exploited that, and a lot of it has been taken. Even the historical artifacts taken to museums all across the world.
That's how like the
And-
movie begins, when they're in a museum in
Yeah, there we go.
in
London.
London.
And those centers
See.
now, you pay top dollar to see some of these things.
See artifacts that were stolen from some
exactly.
random village
Yeah, so when you think about it,
in Uganda.
you can make an argument both ways, where we were able to advance the civilization courtesy of that and what they came with, the knowledge they came with, the exchange of information through the walikuwa naitwaje wale collaborators. Yeah, through the exchange of information, or they saw, hey, there's guns, there's nini. I always think back to the Kinjeketile Ngwale story. That's the funniest story in history, man. Like the Maji rebellion.
Hiyo ni Kinjeketile.
Niyo kweli?
Maji ilikuwa ya Tanzania, I think.
See the same? Am I not talking about the same thing? I might have my history mixed up, but I think I am. Please check. Please fact
because I
check.
thought Kinjeketile was like coast ama
I will fact check me.
Ama
But
jamii
anyway, in the Maji, he was
Ni
the
kama
guy.
mko mnasikiza SS class. Amko mnasikiza.
Aki, if I'm right, mtaacha kupiga slide.
acha mtu
Haya.
alliance atufundishe.
Guys. So the Maji Rebellion was an armed rebellion of Africans against German colonial rule in German East Africa. This was triggered by German colonial
Yeah, so that's
policies
Tanzania.
designed to force the indigenous population to grow cotton for export. Yeah. But yeah, I remember there was a story about how these guys...
witch doctor was like, mkikunywa hii, mwende kuface hizo guns, hamtakufa. So that's a wild story anyway. But anyway, that's just a small segue.
It's Tanzania.
But ultimately, it was just like to show we were not at the same place of development, and some of what they came with was really insightful, and they came with their own structures as well that we employed, and maybe not to the best level.
You are right. Kinjeketile Ndwale was a spiritual medium and leader of the Maji Rebellion against colonial rule in German East Africa. Sorry.
Can I be given my flowers, guys? Can I be given my flowers? All right, wonderful.
At least each time you fact check before Micah episode. Before Micah ni fact check.
Because the audience would have come for you.
Yeah.
They would have come for you.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry, he was clearly seated
You
and
are
listening.
right. Okay. This guy had done his research and then he's coming
I
here.
did do research.
I think I'm not sure.
I'm pretending I don't know. Anyway, it's a small segue to just show maybe where we were and the ways that we needed to go. But you could make an argument for both ways, that if we were left to develop and face the hardship that we were facing, one way or another we would have come to realize, because there are those elements, those people with incredible ability to learn, gain knowledge, develop theories, interrogate, natural phenomena like the Newtons and the Edisons and, the Wright brothers or whoever. Like, I think the potential for innovation still exists in Africa, and within Africans. It's not just because we were colonized that we were able to gain knowledge
Yeah.
into things that are regarding science and development and technology. No. So you could make an argument both ways, and ultimately it's neither here nor there, because it happened, and here we are.
Yeah.
Speaking the language of
the colonizers,
in the
white
most
man,
Mm.
elitist way, apparently, according to our producers.
Anyways, okay, to bring it closer home, like when I think about myself, like I do understand. Yeah, I think there's some bad things they brought, especially like how a lot of our countries were founded. They were founded on like corruption, land grabbing, stealing. And okay, maybe even as we were tribes, maybe we still kind of did that. But whatever the case, like it was like a communal thing. It was a community. We used to live in communities. Now there's so much individualism, partly because of the whole, like the developed centers, those rural to urban migration. There's like, it's like ilikuja na good things, lakini pia the good things ziko na like the nini
Another
side to
layer
it.
of bad things.
Yeah, like a couple of years down the line. But then also I think about stuff like, if I was left in the African traditional society, I'd be a mother of like 10 right now, and that's a scary thought. Okay, it's a blessed thing to have children.
Scary.
It's a blessed thing.
You see, the
But
neo-colonialist
it's still
mindset
scary.
has
No, but it's still, I'll be like the third wife. I'd be like, hey, it would be, and then okay, but then again, maybe even the desires that I have now are based off of actually having Western
ideals.
principles, Western ideals. So I anyway, as he said, it's very hard to think about a what if. What has happened. We can only just move on from here.
Yeah. And I think just to add on to what she said, we need to stop blaming neocolonialism. For sure, there is no. There's still there's what's the word? There's still consequences that we're suffering as a result of what happened.
Yeah.
And some of it is very clear. But ultimately, I think if we are stuck in that trauma, and it's important to learn that history, sikatai, but the reparations thing, I think ultimately, is misguided to some extent, because, and some of it is kind of Marxist in the way that it's presented. But aside from that, we are also responsible for some of the situations that we are in. And it's not necessarily just because of the colonialist. Like, we have to separate, okay, so what are they responsible for? And do we actually need to recognize that this is a result of what was done? Yes, that's great. But also there's what are we responsible for as well? If there's an upshoot in maybe crime within African or Black American communities, if there's still, and I think some of that is also pure bad represented because of also what watasema racism and whatnot. Sorry, but I think we have to like really be objective about it, and also see where responsibility lies in our hands to kind of change our destiny or the future of like.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think I refuse to fully remove colonialism as effects of what is happening in our society today. So like, for example, if we just take Kenya, and let's say we are discussing on land and on land, ownership of land, and who owns land and where land is most valuable. It is highly dependent on what the white men used to own.
That's true.
So, and who the white men liked and who they decided to leave their land to or to sell their land to. And that predominantly also defines who are the wealthy in the country. So that division and that being a genesis of where the wealth and development began, it is important for us to have that in mind as we are also discussing the poverty that exists in the country. Because those guys didn't really earn it by merit, and these guys do not suffer from poverty because
It's true.
lack
Those who
of-
amassed mad resources because of the
So
colonialists.
you can't. I don't
are
think you can divide it in a
yeah,
clean
yeah,
and cut
yeah.
way.
You can, and also, yeah, that's true. Disagree.
Yeah, but I feel like okay, there's that. Okay. Oh, actually, no. It can be argued away by that. Okay, I wanted to say, but then also we're kind of responsible to some extent because of the bad leadership that we've had.
Yes.
But then now to counter that, I was gonna say probably even the reason why the bad leadership exists is because they were able to amass the kind of wealth
Yeah.
and influence based on colonialism to actually become even to get into those positions.
Those positions
That's
of
true.
power.
Yeah.
And that's why those families will refuse to leave those positions of power regardless. Like some of them may leave, but watatoka wakiacha their own cronies on the side, still ensuring that their desires are met and their agendas are met, even with whomever is in power. Yeah, I don't want to go into depth with my own thoughts of the leadership right now.
It's
Well,
a scary thought actually.
But yes. So let us go to the next movie, Wakanda Forever. It begins in such a heartfelt way before now we go to whatever chaos happens afterwards. What did you guys think about that funeral service? How they were able to pay tribute to Chadwick?
Okay, maybe I have an unpopular opinion, but okay. I felt the solemnness when they were there at I think I don't know where they were, where it started from. The solemnness, they were crying, and then it was Shuri, her mother, the guys close to Chadwick. And then they went into the city. I think they were carrying his body, and then it's almost like a celebration, you know.
Yeah, that was a bit.
It was a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it's a celebration of life, but you don't need to celebrate per se.
Even
Like
Shuri,
that.
like you could see it zoom on her, and she was kind of.
Yeah,
I don't know whether she was in that moment
yeah,
with the others who
yeah.
are celebrating the life of this.
But it's
Yeah.
because the story is like kind
Yeah.
of Shuri trying to come to terms.
Yeah,
with
it was her journey. It was her journey of like now taking up her brother's role, and being the heir to the throne and to the Black Panther title.
I think part of that may have been there's this time there was this trend of Ghanaian dancers, grave dancers, the ones who carry the ones who carry the I feel like that may have been because maybe not in Kenya, but even in Luo, no, Luo has like very we hire mourners who like will shout and grieve and wail in the community or in the household when someone has died. So I feel like in other cultures they hire dancers. I'm not sure if that works if it's like a child or someone who's young. I don't know about that, but I think it's like fitting somewhere in one African tribe somewhere. I'm sure with that thought.
Yeah, because honestly, when you look at, there's so many sub tribes, even in the communities in South Africa or in Nigeria or wherever, even in Somaliland, the Bantus, there's so many sub. Even in your region, in like the Lakeside and Western, there's so many sub cultures, and a lot of them have similar but too small nuanced beliefs in the traditions that distinguish them as a people, be it in the language, be it in whatever dialect, in the accent. And I think it's a beautiful thing, honestly, when you think about it from that perspective. Yeah, and maybe that's where they did their research to look through different various varying elements of African culture and maybe how people grieve in their different cultures. And I think that's something that could be a good assignment for a thesis, like
like a study of grief between
grief in the subcultures in different regions in maybe Kenya or Africa. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if something has been written.
I'm
on
sure
that.
there has
to be something. But yeah,
when he was mentioning that and how much like diversity there is in all our tribes and our beliefs and all that, and it's actually a beautiful thing. And it reminded me of an Instagram thing. I don't know whether you saw what people value as someone being smart and actually it not being true. So it's like a poll, like what do you think are things that people think equate to intelligence but it isn't really intelligence? And one of them was speaking in very good English, like proper English, because like
yeah.
we have like such a beautiful culture that we should try our best actually not to lose. Exactly. No, sometimes I joke and say sometimes my language may end with me, but hey, I feel challenged now.
I think in because of that desire, because I can see it a lot with us, the Gen Z and the older millennials.
Did you just throw him under the older millennials?
Oh my goodness. It's all out war.
And it's like
This
1 year between.
This is how Killmonger started. That's how Killmonger started.
Genesis.
Ngoja mwone next episode. Nakuja vengeance.
Like, I feel like because that's such a good design, and I've already started seeing ads of Luo teachers on Instagram. So I think by the time like we have kids, or even like 2 or 5 years time, that's a full-on business people can have to teach.
It is a need. Honestly, those who are actually trying to meet that gap.
Because I'd pay.
Yeah, same.
But I hope that even as we go back to learning our language and our culture, we don't use it as a means to divide, because that is what has been used in politics to divide us completely.
100%,
exactly. Because we are all made in the image of God, regardless of whatever tribe you're in.
Absolutely.
100%. I think one thing that low-key pissed me off when I was watching both of these movies was I can't believe the best version of Africanness that I could see was still produced in the US, that internally as a culture we haven't been able to find the resources and like the bandwidth, kind of quote unquote, to produce such an immaculate and well crafted representation of how just diverse Africa looks like. It low-key pissed me off. I understood it, but it low-key pissed me off. I was like, I wish this was like done by South Africans or Nigerians or Kenyans. But the good thing is like half the cast was like half born somewhere else. Like Lupita is half Kenyan. This guy from Get Out, what's his name?
Daniel
Kaluuya, Ugandan.
Kaluuya is half Ugandan. Okoye is half either Zimbabwe or Zambia. There was someone else who's also half Ugandan. There was someone in the new, now in Wakanda Forever, the new female warrior that's added, I think, is half Sierra Leone, if I'm not wrong. But at least there's some like proximity.
What about Letitia Wright? Like she had her accent. Mi nilikuwa najua huyu ni wa mtaa mahali somewhere. A local somewhere. Local African lady.
Somewhere.
With a brilliant mind.
So now Wakanda 2. There were so many areas in Wakanda Forever where the logic just didn't make sense. Ryan Coogler, we tried to love your movie. We really did. And we did for the most part. But some of the logic just didn't make sense. Do you have any points that you were inaingiana aje?
Okay. No hate to my girl, Shuri. I think her journey through this whole movie was so beautiful, from the point where she wasn't even able to mourn her brother. Actually, when the brother was dying, she wasn't even there. She was trying to save him. So she didn't even have like that last moment with him. And then he dies, and then she kind of closes herself off from trying to think about him because it's too hard. Then she just goes about life, just doing her best, doing her suits, and then towards the end, she has that moment where she goes to, is it Mexico or something, and she has a moment to actually think about it and grieve. And even the mom was trying to get her to grieve. But that moment was rudely interrupted by Namor. So she has like a very beautiful story arc towards the end. When she finally grieves, she's introduced to Chadwick's son. I thought that was such a beautiful moment. Wale watu wa Ochingi end credits ilikuwa hapo.
Ilikuwa
hapo.
Yes.
End credits.
So it was so beautiful.
Her journey, her story arc was beautiful. But my girl, it's not believable how she's able to fight. Okay, maybe did she take the Black Panther hub?
Yeah, she did take the Black
Panther. Oh yeah, she did.
She recreated it.
Yeah, and then she had the suit. Yeah. But she wasn't delivering.
She's not very believable because she has a very small frame,
slender
very
frame,
slender. It surprises me that she's able to pack a punch. So Apple.
And also, when you watch Kinley, you can tell the body double.
You can.
You can tell, especially the fight scene between her and Namor.
Yeah.
When they're in the desert, you can tell.
You can tell that's not her. That's
You
not
can
her.
tell.
Yeah. So I think she tried, but tricky. The other thing, I think we were discussing this, the Ironheart lady. Like how she's just a prodigy from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
She's able to create this. She's like the new Iron Man. So she's able to create this Iron Man suit, and she uses it through the movie, and then she creates a vibranium detector. Like, okay, I felt like I didn't see the struggle.
Good, yeah.
Maybe it's possible that she could have done it, but you see, she was introduced so fast, we didn't get to see her struggle to do all these things.
Yeah, and you don't get to see, like, you don't get to attach yourself to the character, so she feels like just because you already because you already know the people of Wakanda. So when Shuri and her are kidnapped, to be honest, if Shuri was not amongst them and it was only her, I kid you not, I think everyone would have been like, oh, it's a scientist who's gone to Talokan.
Oh yeah, that's why they had to be kidnapped together.
Okay, let us go back and mourn Chadwick in Wakanda. No one cares.
Focus on ourselves. Focus on ourselves.
We didn't have her backstory. She just came in from Okay, one could say the same thing about Shuri.
No, but we got to love Shuri with her interaction with the brother.
With the brother.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was.
So good.
So I felt like she just came out of nowhere. So there's that. And then let me leave you some. Sorry.
No, Ndela.
I think there's so many.
I'm here listening.
The last fight scene where it's the Wakandans in the ship. First of all, there's the issue.
Yes. So the Talokan are very, very well empowered in the ocean.
Yeah.
The ocean is their turf. When they're at the sea, they can and it seemed like they were endless. There's such a huge population. And like everyone is already trained in combat.
Yeah.
So why, as Wakandans, you are trying to fight for even kind of trying to look for justice because he had killed the queen?
Yeah.
Why would you take yourselves from your turf where you have ground, where you have space, you have control, you have your weapons, you have everything. Put yourselves on a ship and go into the middle of nowhere.
These guys have whales.
Aki!
Wow.
These guys were pulling up into battle with whales.
Walifika hapo kwa hiyo ship wakadisable ship and that's it. Mmekwama. Wanaweza waacha hapo mkufie tu hapo.
Okay, let me just reference Aquaman. There's a story in Injustice. And there's first of all there's a civil war in the superheroes kwa DC. Lakini nakwambia Aquaman is a powerful. Our watu kwa sea, like they could bring tsunamis, they could bring all this, their control of the sea creatures. The sea is the population, 70% of the earth is
water.
Yeah. And this is a guy who's in control of the entire, you know. So that when the vita ilitokea huko, it was crazy. Like I was drawing parallels. I was like, I get why you can't go and fight them in the territory.
Why?
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
And that's exactly what they did.
They could have lured them somewhere else.
Yeah. Or at least had a backup plan. Yeah?
Yes.
Tunaenda huko kama Trojan horse. But our actual plan is something else.
Yeah? Which I think their actual plan was to get, it felt like when they get Namor, then they get the entire...
Yeah. But then that was the plan. They get Namor, that's it. No one else is going to fight, no one else is going to do anything.
But then they killed like half their army.
Yeah, and then it got to a point there were so many Talokan wamezingira your ship. The ship is tall. The guys like all over wanapanda your ship. They're fighting. But even that doesn't make sense because you remember these Talokan guys could sing and get guys to throw themselves out. So they utilized that tactic when they were in Wakanda.
Yeah,
they utilized it when they ambushed Wakanda wakaeka magic. They use it, but then when they're in the sea, they don't use that tactic. Don't believe it.
Yeah,
and then now inafika point wako hapo kwa ship and then Wakandas are like 5 and it's just the main cast in Okoye, Lupita, Nini, and then they're just fighting. They're fighting. You're not seeing anything. It's one of those battles where
it makes no sense.
And then also none of the main cast, none of them fall. So it's like also.
Oh yeah.
How?
Let me not lie. all battle sequences in Black Panther for me were not the most thrilling
The
things in the
most
story.
thrilling.
I think for me the thrilling things were the presence of like the characters, the casting, the acting. But the battle sequences za Black Panther hata ya kwanza mimi zilikuwa zinanifurahisha. Zilikuwa
Ya
they were a bit
kwanza,
lacking. Okay.
ya kwanza because it was a civil war amongst each other.
Yeah.
But then you don't see any casualties, do you?
For the first one to me didn't make sense because I was like, who aside from Daniel Kaluuya's character, who else is really in Killmonger's side?
Yeah.
No, his entire tribe.
Yeah.
Oh, his entire tribe.
Yeah.
Oh, with the rhinos, but the rhinos were cool though.
The rhinos were
the
cool.
rhinos were
But then someone is being hit by a rhino that's twice the size of a normal rhino, and they are still
That was
waking
so-
up.
It doesn't matter. That was so cool.
Yeah, so it's just like, watch it.
Yeah, but actually, that's, come to think of it, that's actually quite funny. It's actually that's actually funny. But no, not even that. Like the fact that Wakanda has vibranium, which is the magic of all metals. This metal can do anything.
Yeah.
From healing properties to weapons to defense systems
To trains.
What can't vibranium do?
Yeah, to spaceships.
Exactly. So vibranium, even arms,
Bucky
Ban's
Ban's hand
is
is
vibranium.
Captain America's shield.
Yes, it's vibranium.
It's vibranium. What can this metal do? But then, like, they have all this vibranium, but I don't know why they feel like it's primitive to fight with guns. Now, fighting with spears is more developed.
Their spears are made of vibranium.
Cheeky.
But
Plot armor.
Okoye's-
It's called plot armor.
Because
The
like
spears
that
were cool, let me
requires
not lie.
hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, but when Okoye was doing the Maasai, they were crediting the Maasai. And then Okoye's spear, when they were in Basan and the car, she stopped a whole car by this.
Because they're vibranium spears and they're very agile and flexible.
Okay, sawa. What
But
nilikuacha
honestly,
mila.
What we'll always go back to these films and examine what are your guns for. Your guns can't do nothing. Like, you have a gun and someone has a spear and they'll be like, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. But then it's like, but bring that one.
Yeah.
Like, that's the concept.
But
Yeah.
like the spear is 5,000 times more capable than
But you see, the spear requires that you're up close and personal.
Yeah. Close combat.
But
Si ukwe tu mbali.
what's it called?
Oh, her nini
Exterior.
is also
Yeah,
okay.
it's also
And then
vibranium.
also another thing,
But a
vibranium
headshot,
can also not be detected by metal detectors.
Oh,
As in,
yeah.
what can this metal
Metal
do?
do.
Well, I think that's the title. Vibranium. What can this metal do?
So now, what are your your plot peeves?
All what
From
she's
Wakanda
mentioned quite
too.
well, so that I don't repeat the points. Ni hayo. Mostly this lady in Wakanda Forever being very brilliant, but honestly not believable in a sense, especially with the story. I remember we saw Iron Man's brilliance, but we also saw a journey,
Yeah.
of like, this lady is like doing revolutionary things, just evil too, without any
Hassle.
exactly, just like, yeah, you're a genius, but you're more than a genius. You're probably like some hyper genius or something, if there's levels to genius. Yeah. So for me, it was a bit not believable. I think she was even smarter than Shuri, if I'm not wrong.
Smarter than Iron Man, even.
Yeah. And Shuri is smarter than Iron Man.
And we
apparently.
actually saw Shuri struggle.
Yeah.
Which
We
is
did.
important.
Yeah.
We did see her struggle.
In both episodes,
Yeah.
like she struggled to cure the white man, and she also struggled to make the plant.
Yeah, because
So
it's
it's
not
important,
just
that part.
flawless.
Yeah, that part is important.
The
for us.
journey
Yeah.
of discovery and innovation, it's not just flawless. There's always bugs. Like, look at tech tools. Develop something, bugs, uko, trial it. But bugs kama 500, it's like fix
Line
it.
142 iko na shida hapo.
Yeah, debug. Yeah, bug ingine imepatikana, debug. Before you get a perfect system.
Yeah.
How many updates do this
Yeah.
security updates, any
So
malware
maybe
updates?
she had that,
It's like,
but we didn't see it.
we didn't see it. It's just like, she can just make things off the cuff. Akotu, just give me a hammer.
Yeah.
Give me a hammer, I'll make you whatever.
Yep.
It's not believable, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but what I think we've spoken of what we liked about Wakanda Forever anyway. Yeah, it was a good movie, but it was really flawed by that subplot of Ironheart.
And did you talk about Namor as well?
And a bit. Oh, you didn't say about what did you think about his wings?
Let me tell you, hizo wings hazikuwa zinanibamba. Hizo ni nini kwa miguu ameweka? Like wings, alafu is just moving. I'm just like, what are those? They're so.
You feel like
it's like
in some
and then
way you
his
kind of
ears.
think like they
Also,
should
did you hear what
fly
he just
upwards.
said? Did you hear what are those? Like homage to Black Panther 1.
You kind of think like he should fly upwards because there's a point in
Yeah.
time I was wanting the physics of it all with wings.
Yeah.
Your physics haiambatani.
How do they?
They're just, yeah.
Like I was
It's
just
so funny.
it didn't make sense for me.
And then also the thing of them managing to stay deep underwater and water pressure not affecting them, I didn't see the science. Also, they absorb oxygen through their skin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
they don't need like even
particularly for
visible
Namor.
gills.
For the other
Oh, they had gills.
the other ones needed to have the to breathe through the nini. Walikuwa wanafaa kanindo wasikose hewa. Weke maji hapa. Yeah,
I think there's a good story with the Talokan versus the Wakanda somewhere in there. But I in my household, Ryan Coogler is a good director. It's a good writer. So I think Apo Marvel intervened and destroyed his
umekataa kusema
his
ni yeye,
vision.
si
Yes,
yeye, hawezi kwa yeye.
Hawezi kwa yeye.
it's not him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Black Panther 1, the hype was totally worth it.
Yes, 100%.
I think the movie was good. The motivation of the villain was good. The fight scenes, let's not talk too much about them. But
I think the fight scene between T'Challa and Killmonger,
When
Yes,
they were
that one was
devoid
good.
of power, that was cool.
no,
That was
even
No,
when they had
even
power.
even when they had power, because when they were devoid of power at the hill, that was good when T'Challa is thrown over the cliff, and then now the final conclusive fight at like the train station ish place. Yeah,
I don't know if it's just me liking men swords and
Not with
or you
the
preferred
suits.
the other one.
not CGI suits moving around space like
Okay.
Yeah.
It's for me. It's more give me that. Give me taking me back to the
Hand to
Colosseum.
hand.
give me a gladiator any day.
Oh, yeah. And didn't we review Gladiator?
Gladiator.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Well, it do make sense because that one was more intriguing than
It was more intense.
than the
I loved
second
the
one.
intensity of
Yeah.
that one.
But I felt like Chala was very honorable. Even the end when he killed Killmonger, it was even like, we can heal you. Nini. Like, it was very honorable.
He was
I
an
think he
honorable
really
man,
took upon himself, like, the injustice that his father had done to him.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
say, Chadwick as a representative of a leader, top. Like we haven't talked about that enough.
Yeah.
And the late Chadwick, an amazing actor, did exploits. Honestly, even when battling that disease, which he kept secret, and I think that's, I don't know, this is a testament to maybe his character.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when we saw his performance on screen for Black Panther, I think honestly I was drawn to him as well, as much as I was drawn to Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. Like they both dovetailed really well with each other.
Yeah, so well. So well. To such it's like a devastating loss to especially the Black community. Because I think for us, it's not as close as Americans would have been to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fantastic movie. So if you haven't watched Black Panther, please go watch it like right now. Ulobemaliza hii episode. Alafu urudi tena tuongeze vingine moja. Yes. So any other comments you guys may have?
Absolutely none.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful time.